What's good? Yeah, we're back and we're going to talk about a new hero, and her name is Seraphina. But before we get into that, let's have a look at Lust. Lust is already dressed very sparingly, and it's kind of already getting pretty close. But what the actual fuck is Seraphina? Like, at this point, the next character we're going to get is going to be basically naked. They're not gonna be wearing anything. Obviously, jiggy physics are on point, but we're like, what the fuck is this? Where's like stuff, right? There's nothing covering anything. It's crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at her, and also we're going to compare her to her closest lookalike, just because we can. So we're going to go over her kit. We're going to try to gear her. We're going to obviously uh, we're also obviously going to try to show off the skills, right? Because normally you're only going to see like a hero overview and you're going to only have the text. We're already going to do some normal testing, as in, is the description actually what's intended, and all that good stuff. And we're going to compare her with Calypso, because Calypso, I mean, she's some mermaid type something, and Seraphina looks like some Naga type something. So they both kind of like snake people persons. So we're going to compare the two of them when it comes to damage, just because, and especially because Calypso also kind of is like a middle tier champion when it comes to damage. So that should give us quite a good idea of what Seraphina is actually all about. But enough of that, let's actually get into her skills, or basically her talent. So, talent first. When no enemies can be targeted, the hero charges Mystic Flame. Alright, Mystic Flame. Upon hitting, the enemy deals damage equal to to basic attack one time. Which means already, if you want to improve Mystic Flame, you gotta level the basic attack. Okay, good to know. And the hero charges Mystic Flame during each attack interval to unleash concurrently later. So, if you attack, she charges the Mystic Flame instead. Okay. And she stacks it up to 3 times. If an enemy receives damage from Seraphina 4 times within 1 second, they'll receive an extra 200% damage 1 time. Which means basically she should stack up her Mystic Flame 3 times, then basic attack, and then it should hit basic attack plus 3 times basic attack through 3 times Mystic Flame. Which means if she stacks it up, you're going to get an extra 200% damage. Okay. Basic attack, 120% magic damage. Obviously, you want the basic attack up for Mystic Flame. Eternal Hatred. Each basic attack or triggered talent effect has a 20% chance of being enhanced. And enhanced basic attacks or Mystic Flames deal 100% increased damage and inflict Curse. Curse being one of the most underused buffs or debuffs in the entire game. Prevalent on Karmit and all the other Esotericist units, really. But you kind of never really notice it that someone is cursed and unable to perform a basic attack. So yeah, and then just chance based, if we're attacking 4 times at 20%, we have somewhere around a 70% chance of actually triggering that 100% damage increase, which obviously already sounds quite decent. And then we have Arcane Secrets. At 3 stacks of Mystic Flame, she increases her attack by 40%. So that's basically the difference between you running attack percent as a main or attack percent as a substat. That's huge. And then now we have the ultimate. During the ultimate, removes the currently charged Mystic Flames and reduces the charge interval of Mystic Flame by 60%, which should be reducing her attack interval by 60%, because Mystic Flame should be equal to attack interval. And now Mystic Flame will be unleashed together only when there are 3 stacks of it. Alright, so just from guesswork, we're going to obviously test it extensively later down the line. It's basically her being able to only charge up Mystic Flame if there are no enemies. Then she charges us up to 3, hits the first one that comes in line and just bursts them. And if there is an enemy at the time, then she's just gonna basic attack 1 time. And in ultimate, she's always going to charge up to 3 stacks, which means hitting 4 times, which means 200% extra damage. Alright, Awakenings. I'm still a bit unsure if we're going to test Awakenings. You're going to see it at the end of the video or in the description down if we've tested them, because I have 2 of her, so we could technically awaken her. During the ultimate, the trigger chance of Eternal Hatred increases by 15%, attack plus 300 at A2. A3, upon the first deployment, increases damage by 40% for 30 seconds. I don't know. She doesn't strike me as too crazy of a burst hero. And the fact that this is an A3 that loses value after 30 seconds, doesn't at least doesn't make her sound like a Guild Boss character. 8% penetration, and then 20% increased damage to targets inflicted with curse and restores 2% rage. Now that's broken. Yeah, that sounds broken. If we can somehow reliably apply curse to, let's say, the Guild Boss or any other enemy, for example, and we have her at pretty decent attack speeds, and then we just restore 2% rage with every attack on top of everything else. Now that sounds crazy. Before we get into actual gear testing and all that, obviously we want to check her kit if everything works as intended, which is why we're going to have an isolated look at her in artifact material rate, trying to see what her kit is all about, because obviously words should be very telling, but with the history of this game having not the greatest of descriptions ever, we just want to see it for ourselves. So right here we're going to bring in her, and there should be no enemies, which means she should be, there we go. So she now placed this red orb because there were no enemies in her range. And another one, also red orb. Can we actually zoom in? No. But yeah, you can see it right here. We have 2 red orbs. And then she shoots a blue attack and 2 red attacks. Number wise, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if we can actually change that a bit. So yeah. Now she's just attacking with a blue or red attack. So my best guess right here is that the red attack is this empowered one at 20% chance, and the blue attack is just your pretty standard attack. Alright, let's have a look at numbers. So 36k on a blue. And come on, give us a red one, please. That's blue. A red one, 67. So yeah, that's definitely added 100% damage. And then right here we're going to activate her ultimate, which is going to then... Okay, so she starts spinning around this, I don't know, this vortex. And right here we already have 2 attacks. So, okay, we have 3 blue attacks, which means she shot all the blue attacks at the same time with a basic attack and did her damage. Right here we have 1 red orb, so 1 empowered one, 2 basic ones, shooting them out with another red one from the basic attack, which gives us around 120, 120, 60 and 60 damage, which means 240, 360%. That is by no means bad. And there we go, another one. So after a single ultimate, we're down to around 40% HP on AMR. And I think kit-wise, she is rather simple. She's just going to permanently attack if there's an enemy in range, or if her ultimate is untriggered, and if there are no enemies, she's going to charge up, or if her ultimate is triggered, she's also going to charge up. And if you look at that, obviously it doesn't look like the craziest burst damage at the moment, but we'll get to all that, what kind of gear she's supposed to wear and all that good stuff later on. So yeah, it's time. Let's have a look. So we're going to start off with the Sorbonne Arcana set first. Even though it's glitched, we're going to just first test it as intended, just to get an idea of like the damage she's supposed to deal. And then we're going to compare the numbers from there versus the numbers she's going to do in the IR set. So let's get straight into it. And I think we can move this test server text back up. All right. So in she goes. Guild Boss is always here, so she's just going to perma attack. And Raiden, we're not even gonna place him. So right here we have a single ultimate activated, and attack wise, let's pause it at the right moment. We have 138k on an increased attack and around 75k on a normal one. So yeah, so alright. And then right here we have our standard basic attack at 45k and increased one at 83k, going down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Which means we're going to go to Infernal Roar. Alright, here we are with Infernal Roar. Again, we're just going to place her down. She's gonna do her basic attacks. And we hit for 125k normally. And now the moment of truth. 68k and 114k. So 126, 68, 124, 100 with the 75. So we're now hitting for 57, 57. Can we get an empowered attack? 100k. Oh, alright, that's not that great. Alright, so we've seen 45 and 85k for normal and increased attack on Sorbonne Arcana and 57 and 106 on Infernal Roar. Now that should have already been the solution. Oh, Infernal Roar is better, it makes bigger numbers. But sadly, as we all know, Sorbonne Arcana is glitched at the moment, so you can just perma increase or insta increase her stacks to 5 just by having 4 other characters activate the ultimates. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing right of this moment. So alright, we got our team ready. We got our ultimate triggers in Elowin, Zillitu, Silas, Wrath, and Arrogance. So yeah, off we go. She goes in, she's just going to be attacking the guild boss. Elowin, Silas, Zillitu, Arrogance, Wrath, which is then going to be our 5 right here. So Zillitu is ultimate triggered number 1. Elowin number 2, Wrath already number 3, Silas number 4, and then Arrogance triggering as number 5, which means we're going to be removing everyone and then triggering her ultimate. So moment of truth. Here we go. So she's going to charge around. She already has 2 orbs there, 3 orbs. She should be shooting them any second. Alright, there we go. Even with 1 empowered attack in there from her basic attack. 102 and 171. Was the 171 the empowered one? Because if yes, then the solution is again way too simple. So right here we have 2 empowered shots, 2 normal ones. Again 171. It's really hard to see. Come on. I think it looks like 180 and then 170 being the triggering of the 200% extra damage. I think we have a better shot at just having a look at it when it's just a single number. So right here we have 61, 113. Alright, sad conclusion. 61 and 113 is higher than 57 and 106. So, Sorbonne Arcana still goated, but at least from a standpoint of Sorbonne Arcana being working the way it's supposed to, Infernal Roar would be better. But it is not, at least not at this moment, because Sorbonne Arcana is glitched. Alright, so it's time for the battle of the lookalikes. We're going to be facing Calypso against Seraphina. Starting off with Seraphina, both are going to be getting their Epic Lord, and the rest of the units really don't matter. It's going to be just them against AMR. And also we're going to be using a timer. So as soon as we load into the stage, I'm going to pause, start the timer, and from there we'll go. So we're going to pause. Obviously remove the test server message again out of the way a bit, because it's just too hard to see numbers as well as HP percentages this way. So click on start, click on pause, bring her in, bring our tank in. Then obviously we can already start with 2x speed. And then right here we can already ultimate early. We're not going to be triggering Constance. Constance is just there to keep Crowder alive. Why Crowder? Just because there's no real reason. So yeah, Here we go. We're going to be facing everyone away from the guild boss, so we can really see the raw potential of the unit herself. So we're already closing in on our second ultimate. And there we go with Admiral Claw. So after 2 ultimates, we're already down to 27%, 50 seconds passed, and yes, we're also going to play the other fight obviously at 2 times speed, or there's not really gonna be a point of this whole thing. So yeah, trigger her again, bring in Valeria at the top just so we don't die, and there we go. At 1 minute and 4 seconds we were able to clear AMR, obviously with 2 times speed, so it was basically 2 minutes. Alright, as mentioned, now the same thing with Calypso, obviously with Lunaria as the Lord, we're going to be placing in the exact same order, doing the exact same things, so everything is pretty much the same. So, timer start, unpause, Calypso in, Crowdor in, and then we're just going to wait until we can actually place down constants. The timer is running, and A-bomb is gonna be then our next placed unit. Alright, so far Calypso was at least able to get her first ultimate out, and we're already at 20 seconds, so she has 30 seconds to kill to actually beat her. I think that's rather unlikely, but who knows? Maybe she'll clutch up by getting even more of those seal stones. Though obviously her seal stone generation at A0 really isn't all that great. So it will definitely be interesting to see if we're going to be able to close the distance between the two through actually generating seal stones faster through her A1, and then obviously having a higher seal stone cap at A5. But you really notice that Calypso is more of a late game champion, with her needing to stack up all her seal stones first, and even then you can kind of already see it. The numbers really aren't all that great, even though we are running rather decently high attack. We've already lost at the top. We're closing in on 1 minute and 20 seconds, so I don't even think there's a need to compare. So we're going to quit here and swap to A5. Alright, so here we are, same test. Obviously set-wise we're going to go with Sorbonne Arcana, and in comparison to the last one we're going to trigger Crowdor's ultimate just to give one more Sorbonne Arcana stack, even though that is going to probably skew it a bit more in the favor of Seraphina again still. But yeah, here we go. We unpause, we start the timer, we bring in Seraphina, we bring in Crowdor, we play it on 2 times speed just so it gets a bit faster. As soon as the boss is in range, we are going to trigger her ultimate. And we're going to bring in Constance just so our Crowdor doesn't die. So yeah, beautiful. Right here we can activate his ultimate. We're going to bring in our Abomination. We're going to stay the hell away from Constance. And we're going to bring Wrath in obviously as soon as we can. So yeah, we're closing in on the second ultimate. Already doing the damage as of basically the third ultimate. And here we go. 7%, 2% dead at 40 seconds. Alright, so that's 10 seconds faster. Obviously, that doesn't sound like anything great, and it really isn't. Because I don't like the way AMR is actually portraying debuffs, because we weren't able to actually see if the boss was cursed, and I also don't think the cursed debuff works here, which kind of just gives her the extra sets. The A3 works for the first few seconds. The A5 doesn't work because you can't curse AMR boss. Or in general, honestly, this curse thing might be even more wacky than we thought, because who can actually be cursed, right? Like, who can you actually disable the basic attack from? Maybe some smaller enemies, but you don't bring a legendary hero to kill smaller enemies. But yeah, we have our numbers, 40 seconds, now it's time for Calypso. Alright, here we go, it's big Calypso time, same stuff, Calypso in, Crowdor in, 2 times speed, Constance in, yada yada, you already know it. And we are going to be able to bring in our units a slight bit faster, just because Calypso is actually a bit cheaper. So right here we're just going to then trigger Crowdor, A-bomb is already in. We are still already at 21 seconds, so I don't know how likely it is for us to actually expect Calypso to kill the boss before we hit 40 seconds. So yeah, we can see 40 seconds even at A5. Calypso really still just takes too long. But we are here. She is still making her way towards full stacks. So yeah, we're now at full stacks, and even then the numbers really aren't all that great. Which is kind of a Calypso problem, really, yeah. So even at A5, even with everything you could have wished for, the numbers really still aren't going to blow your mind. So we are closing in at around a minute and 20 seconds by the time we're going to be killing this boss. But at least in comparison to last time, she was able to kill the boss before the top right actually broke through. So we have a difference of around 50%, 40 seconds versus 1 minute and 20 seconds. Which, yeah, I mean, does that make Seraphina look good? Yes. Is it anything comparable to like the fastest AMR clear times? Not really. And I guess just to make a point, let's just take out Calypso, put in a Silas also at A5, and let's just have a quick look at what a Silas can actually do, just to put things into perspective. So yeah, again, pause, play, unpause, Silas in, Crowdoor in, and then Constance. Come on. Doesn't matter. We can place her there. So yeah, Silas first ultimate, and we are already smoking the boss like there's no tomorrow. As you can see, basically with the first ultimate, we're already down to 11% at 25 seconds. But the difference isn't even all that crazy, right? And especially now with him not being an ultimate and dealing his attacks, we are going to get rather similar numbers to what our girl was actually able to do, which is quite interesting. It is quite interesting, but obviously, at least when it comes to damage through using a single ultimate, there's a major difference between Silas and Seraphina. Let's get to the last part of this video, which is going to be Guild Boss. And for Guild Boss, we have a very funky comp. Now, the reason for this whole comp is obviously because we want a user in Guild Boss, and for that we need a Lord, and the obviously besides Raid just giving stats, but the only offensive Lord is Cyrus, because Cyrus gives an extra damage increase as long as an ally dies or retreats, which obviously in this case refers to Laurel. And furthermore, we have Helga. Now, some of you might be unfamiliar with Helga, so I'll just give you a quick overview. Number one, she has specialized attack speed, so attack speed counts for a greater attack interval decrease for her than for anyone else without it. Secondly, her ultimate deals damage based on her attack interval. And thirdly, Abyssal Echoes, when there's an ally within one tile ahead, increases crit damage equal to 15% of that ally's crit damage. Which means we are going to be running her in the second row, close to Laurel, Zillitu in front of her to make use of that crit damage passive, and also Zillitu is at least getting the benefit of blocking the boss herself for increased damage. And then we have Volker as support, as well as obviously Laurel Hollow for Rage Region. So yeah, honestly, build-wise or awakening-wise, Setrum is A5 just because I don't have another Setrum. Zillitu is A3 because I don't have another Zillitu, and she's at A3 because I wanted to test triple ultimating. Gear-wise, we have a lot of Soulbound Arcanas, so rather decent one. One of the most disgusting Soulbound Arcanas you can ever make. And who else is still missing? Obviously, she's gonna be running Infernal Roar. We have Invigoration set on Volker, Invigoration set on Hollow. We're going to just quickly put an Invigoration set on Cyrus, if I can manage it. 1, 2, 3. And then Laurel might be missing a couple pieces from the invigoration set. There we go. Single piece. So let's just fix that up real quick too. Invigoration. There we go. Alright. So that means 4 invigoration sets, which is going to be Helga, Satram, Zilla2, and Seraphina. And off we go. Honestly, I do not have a single clue what kind of damage to expect. We'll have a look at it together, really. Alright, guild boss time. So, we're going to go on with her first, give her the invigoration buff from Cyrus. Bring in Satram, give him the invigoration buff from Laurel. Helga with the invig from from Hollow. Zilla2 with the invig from Volker. And then finish off with Twinfiend. Alright. So right here we're just going to wait for around 75%, which is going to be... I mean, I think we can already trigger here because we're getting the extra rage from Hollow. And what I'm talking about is pretty much the magic number of getting enough rage to actually trigger Dolores before Pyrus actually fires his shot, which is right here. And then as soon as that is gone, we're obviously going to activate all the other ultimates too. And as soon as Satram triggers, we can remove Laurel. And we can just go with Twinfiend again. Alright, let's hope Dolores is actually triggering properly. There we go. And right here we just go on with everything we have. I don't think there's a need to place Volker really, because we are probably going to remove her quite soon anyway. And we have 4 seconds left on Zilla2's ultimate, so we gotta wait it out so we can trigger her again. And that Twinfiend's ultimate actually works. So yeah, we have, especially with the A5, we got some huge downtime on Satram. Alright, so hopefully here we can wait until around 95% to trigger Twinfiend and then throw Zilla2 in. Perfect. And here we're probably going to wait until we can trigger Helga before we remove Laurel. But at this point we're already waiting so long, we might as well wait until we can place until we can take out until we can trigger Dolores' ultimate. Alright, and then Volker in. For Volker, yeah, we're just really going to try to get her ultimate off once with the invulnerability. Perfect, invulnerability is applied, which means she can go. With Twinfiend, we're again going to wait because Zilla2 is by no means probably going to be ready. Yeah, she's at 52%, so there's no real need to trigger his ultimate. In we go with hers. Again, we're going to hold out for around 95-ish%. Might have been a bit too early. Barely enough. As soon as we trigger Helga, out with everyone and continue. Yeah, Cyrus, I don't think he'll do anything great. He'll just exist. There we go. And spam Helga. 25 seconds until we get our next infusion of rage. By that time, everyone that is supposed to be ready ult-wise should be ready again ult-wise. I mean, so far it's not looking too bad. 30k at 130 obviously still isn't super crazy, at least for the kind of numbers we should be pulling with different heroes with the same amount of gear we're using, because we're using by no means bad gear. And then we can just bring in Volker again to hopefully get her ultimate off once. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be breaking 50k, which obviously is quite nice for an esotericist team. But still, I don't think that should have been our goal. We should have been able to, or we should be aiming higher. It's a, I don't know. It's kind of disappointing, I guess, but also we still gotta wait for like the final reveal of the damage numbers to actually be able to judge this here properly. And then right here we're going to wait for Dolores to be ready just so we can trigger her twice and we have her buff for the next 40 seconds secured. Right, final stretch. Let's hope we're actually able to break the 50. But rotation wise it's not looking that great. And who died? Okay, we'll be able to get off another Zilla to ultimate. And Dolores didn't trigger, but it's at least it's not too heartbreaking. Ooh, it's gonna be close. It doesn't even look like we'll be able to break 50, so this is by no means a new meta build. And also, I don't think our girl Seraphina is all that great in Guild Boss because, for example, her A5 relies on Curse, and to apply Curse, I don't think that's possible on the Guild Boss. But yeah, we have around 84 million, which is half decent, but it's honestly not that great. And Helga also should have been able to do more, especially considering the fact that she was lore boosted. She had Zilla2 in front of her. We had Cyrus in. So yeah. Overall, I guess a bit disappointing. And I mean, just for the sake of it, I run a run with her at A5 and we'll see if anything changes. Right, another run done, and here we are, her at A5, where she was able to deal around 98 million, though through some weird coincidence towards the end of the run, Dolores died for the last 15 seconds, so I would say she was probably able to do around like 103 to 105 million, which is an increase of around 25%. And something I've also only noticed later is that we weren't using an A1 Twin Fiend. So if you obviously if you then have a soulstone, you're going to get more out of her, but still it kind of needs her to be A5. Now the question is, why did she increase her damage by 25%? One of the most likely answers is just the fact that during the ultimate the trigger chance of Eternal Hatred, so Eternal Hatred being her each basic attack triggered or triggered talent effect has a 20% chance of being enhanced into 35% chance, is where all the damage increase is coming from. Obviously, with Sorbonne Arcana being glitchy, also getting a main benefit from the first deployment 40%, and then lastly, the 20% increased damage to targets inflicted with curse and restores 2% rage. So from me trying, it doesn't seem to apply to the guild boss, the curse debuff, which leaves us with the question of who the fuck can you actually curse that matters. So yeah. Alright, clothing thoughts on Seraphina. Just from her kit, I like her. Her animations look nice. Her outfit is non-existent. And honestly, I think the main point you notice is that her rage is really, like her rage is super low. As you can see, we have an ultimate of 800, which means with the legendary Esotericist Lord, it's going down to 575, which kind of is like nothing at all. So she's really cycling her ultimate pretty darn fast, and in that ultimate obviously she's in her most powerful state doing all her big boy attacks. So yeah, I don't think she's gonna be reinventing the wheel. I don't think she's anything crazy. And also I don't know about, like, it kind of feels like we're just getting characters that deal damage. So it's kind of like they just deal damage but packaged in a different way, but not too different, right? We don't have like specialized characters or like synergies between characters you can really rely on. That's kind of what's missing. I think it's team building depth. We are, at least at the moment, we just have characters you place in and they do X amount of damage through whatever way they do. So yeah. But yeah, lastly, we're just going to try to see if we can actually curse the gate boss, and it's going to be very simple. We're going to be using her at A5 and A0, and we're going to see the difference in time between her first and her second ultimate. So right here we have her at A5, we're going to keep her in the same gear, we're going to just go in, have her attack, and then just check, because obviously there is no indicator that tells you, oh, Rayton bar is now inflicted with curse. Ooh, right, you can't actually check that. So right here we can insert trigger ultimate at 445, and then we'll just speed it up 7, 8, 9, 10. So even we are on 2 times speed. Let's actually move myself out of the way of the ultimate right here. We are accumulating ult charge rather fast, especially considering the fact that there's no one on the field, and 100 at 404. So it took us a grand total of around 41 seconds to regenerate our ultimate, and that was at A5. Now we're just going to take the exact same gear, put it on her A0, and just check out if we're actually going to be able to trigger the ultimate slower. And if we do, then we have our answer, and we can actually curse Baton Raton Bar, Raton Bay, Raton Bar. We can curse the gate boss. There we go. Alright, set swapped. Give her the artifact just in case. You never know. Come on. Take her out. Okay, her normal version is already in. Off we go. So, we place her down, activate her ultimate at 445. We continue on. Everything goes well. The ultimate charges. It's the same. And here we go, 404, 41 seconds. So yeah, you can't curse Rayton Bar, which brings us back to the problem. What the fuck is the curse mechanic even supposed to do? The ones that you want to curse can't be cursed, and the ones you don't need to curse because they die can be cursed, right? Like, who wants to curse a normal minion? And there's no point. There is no point to doing so. Because curse could also be a very, very nice source of anti-heal, at least for gear 8-4, because if you curse the enemies, and if they can't attack, then obviously they can't regenerate health. So yeah, I guess that's it. Bye bye.